Thank God it's Friday, and of course, it's also another fresh edition of your favorite program on leadership television, Inside Nigeria. My name is Winifred Ugbebo, your host on the program. On this first segment of the show, we have an array of newspapers for review, as we normally do. And of course, we have Nigeria's most influential newspaper, Leadership, and other papers on our menu today. Let's start off with Leadership. Leadership's main story says, 2 years after police arrest Mastermind of Kaduna train attack. 2 years after police arrest Mastermind of Kaduna train attack. Troops, police kill 715 terrorists, arrest 280, rescue 623 hostages. 2 for court martial over Tudunbiri aero bombing. Because Leadership has a picture of a session of kidnappers, suspected kidnappers, bandits and armed robbers, including the suspected mastermind of the March 28, 2022 Abuja-Kaduna train attack, being paraded at the Kaduna State Police Command in Kaduna yesterday. That is the photo caption on the cover beneath the main headline story, because the story that goes with the picture. 2 years after police arrest Mastermind of Kaduna train attack. Troops, police kill 715 terrorists, arrest 280, rescue 623 hostages. 2 for court martial over Tudunbiri aero bombing. The main headline story today on Nigeria's foremost Friday newspaper, Leadership Friday. Beneath that, governors weigh ability to pay new minimum wage. Naira abuse, Cubana chief priest EFCC opt for plea bargain. The story runs on page 10 of Leadership Friday. And just beside the masthead of Leadership Friday, government key 11 in Ebonyi. And above that, Lagos GDP hits 41 trillion naira, ranked 7th in Africa. 2024 Hajj, we have made progress in visa processing. NACON. Of course, that concludes the front headline stories on Leadership Friday. With that, we move to the page 3 of the paper, a permanent fixture in the paper, Our Stand. Our Stand today is on EFCC, the challenge of politically exposed persons. EFCC, the challenge of politically exposed persons. With that, we move to the back page of the paper, where we have Friday column conversation with Azu. Azu Sekwene is the editor-in-chief of Leadership newspaper. And this week's column is writing on words in a book you never know until. You'll find out what that until means as you log on to the website of Leadership newspaper. And also for the continuation of the headline stories, the editorial and inside stories, www.leadership.ng. From Leadership, we move to The Nation. The Nation's leading story says states will pay only sustainable minimum wage, say governors. States will pay only sustainable minimum wage, say governors. Subnationals to adopt justice sector summit resolutions. In quote, we are reviewing our individual fiscal space and the consequential impact of various recommendations to arrive at an improved minimum wage we can pay sustainably, end quote. Petrol scarcity persists in cities. Marketers sell at cutthroat prices. NMDPRA fails to regulate retailers. The riders underneath the other story, the other main headline story. Petrol scarcity persists in cities. Marketers sell at cutthroat prices. NMDPRA fails to regulate retailers. Another story gracing the cover of The Nation, police parade Mastermind of Kaduna Abuja train attack. NGE seeks repeal of anti-press freedom laws. That is Nigerian Guild of Editors seeks repeal of anti-press freedom laws. EFCC Cubana chief priests in near settlement. The story is on page 29 of The Nation. Lagos accounts for 20% of Nigeria's GDP as Katsina Governor Shema joins APC. Army moves against ambush of troops. 3 terrorist commanders, 715 others killed in 3 months. Above the masthead of The Nation, 65,000 to perform Hajj, says NACON. Inaugural flight this month. FCT Council stakeholders share 6.3 billion naira. FCTA grows IGRO by 40%. Police launch school protection squad in Kano. Binance chase money laundering trial stalled. Of course, that also concludes the front headline stories of the Nation newspaper this Friday, May 3, 2024. For continuation of these headline stories, log on to the website of the Nation. Even as we move to the next paper we have on our menu, Vanguard newspaper. Vanguard's main headline story: minimum wage, governors working on what is payable. NGF. Minimum wage, governors working on what is payable. NGF. Says 37-member tripartite committee still consulting. Ashraf looking into remuneration of state judicial officers, infrastructure of courts. Labour justifies 615,000 naira minimum wage demand, gives breakdown of wage demand. Counters government on May 1 commencement date for new minimum wage. Press freedom crucial to democracy, good governance. That is Nigerian Guild of Editors. Resident daughters protest shortage of manpower, orders in Kogi. Petrol scarcity, long queues linger despite federal government's assurances. Chibok, 2 free school girls share harrowing experience. Taxes, tariffs, bane of aviation sector. Aviation safety roundtable. And in sports, Lukman battles Romans Dybala, 4 others for Serie A Potem Award. And above the masthead of Vanguard, NDIC raises deposit insurance coverage by 900%. Defense headquarters court-martial 2 officers over Tudunbiri airstrike. Obaseki accepts Vanguard award, gives reason for Edo Best initiative. Lagos Calabar Coastal Highway, federal government's allegation divisive, distracting. Obi. With that, we move to the Punch newspaper. For continuation of Vanguard's front headline stories and inside stories, log on to the website of Vanguard, www.vanguardngr.com. The Punch's main headline story today says fuel supply, 9,000 marketers may lose licenses. Fuel supply, 9,000 marketers may lose licenses. IBMA begs NMDPRA, NNPC not to delist operators from sales portal to avert fuel crisis. Queues persist as more filling stations open for sale. Pump price drops marginally. 48 rifles recovered as police apprehend Abuja train attack mastermind. Panel covers 3.5 billion naira irregularities in Taraba varsity account. Benue to demolish 800 houses over flood threat. Military court martials 2 soldiers over Kaduna accidental bombing. Federal government warns saboteurs as power generation rises to 4,800 megawatts. Above the stories on the Punch masthead, 615,000 naira pay. Governors demand sustainable minimum wage. Government borrows 11 trillion naira via bonds TBs in 4 months. EFCC to move against schools charging dollars. Of course, that concludes the headline stories of today's The Punch newspaper, Friday, May 3, 2024. For continuation of these headline stories, log on to the website of The Punch, www.punchng.com. And from The Punch, we move to the last paper we have on our menu on this first segment of the show, and that is The Guardian. The Guardian's main headline story: Nigerian Unprofessional Football League. How dodgy officiating, complicit club officials, supporters win games. It's a big story today that runs on pages 4 and 5 of the paper. Nigerian in brackets Professional Football League. How dodgy officiating, complicit club officials, supporters win games. Of course, you have pictures of violence, chaotic scenes of violence and assault on match officials during MPFL and NNL games in the country. Nigerian Guild of Editors tax National Assembly on better deal for journalists. CSOs demand suspension of officials, party members facing corruption trial. Victims lose 17.67 billion naira to fraudsters in 2023. 2 army officers face court martial over bombing of 100 in Kaduna. Labour defence 615,000 naira wage proposal as states review fiscal capacity. World Press Freedom Day now seeks release of detained journalists. NDIC raises maximum bank deposit insurance coverage to 5 million naira. Petrol scarcity, long queues, dry pumps remain despite federal government assurances. That also concludes the review of the front page news stories on the Guardian newspaper today, Friday, May 3, 2024. For continuation of these headline stories and inside stories, and of course also the editorial, log on to the website of the Guardian, www.guardian.ng. With that, we also conclude the first half of this show, Inside Nigeria. With the second half, we are going to be discussing some topical issues on today's newspapers. Don't go away, stay tuned. Back to the second half of your breakfast show, Leadership Television, Inside Nigeria. On this segment of the show, I have a guest, not an in-house. He's a public affairs analyst. He's also a journalist, Moses Indika. You're welcome.
Good morning.
My
pleasure.
It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
And my name is Winifred Bebo. Now, today is a World Press Freedom Day. It's all over the world is celebrated today. So, in terms of Nigeria, first and foremost, I want to ask you, how free has the press been in Nigeria, especially considering these democratic settings?
Yeah, it will be blanket kind of if I say the press is not free in Nigeria. Yes, the press is free in Nigeria, but the space is shrinking by the day because you think that during the military time, it looked like Nigerian press was more vibrant than what we have today. You see also that now, even with the incursion of the new media, there's that concerted effort from the government to further strangulate press freedom.
Yes.
However, like some headline I've read, press freedom is key to survival of democracy. Because democracy, they say, is the government of the people, for the people, and by the people. And when you look at it, the press has always been that gap, the bridge between the government and the people. And the press has always been that vigilante watching all over everybody. And if anything happens to press freedom, we can't even predict what the what will follow. Yeah. So in Nigeria today, I would say that the space is shrinking for press freedom. We've had issues of journalists being attacked. Some years back, some states even banned journalists from coming to the state. Some journalists were harassed. You know, in Abuja here, we had a colleague who died mysteriously. We don't know what happened to him. Even to today, the police never really told us anything. Yes. So these are some of the issues. When you look at, you find out that the space.
We told he was killed by hit and run.
Yes, the story was so conflicting.
Because was dumped in Wuse General Hospital. And not so long ago, Moses, we also remember Olatunji now that was incarcerated by the military.
The military.
Even with the outcry, they kept him. Meanwhile, they had him in their custody for days or even to weeks.
This Shoyombo Fisayo has been declared wanted by the police for the things he unearthed about the Nigerian customs. And instead of the government or the police to investigate and say, this is what's this is what we found, they are declaring him wanted. So when you look at these things, they are the nuances that is telling you that the space is shrinking. But we must never and must not allow that, because the survival of Nigerian democracy depends on the freedom that the press enjoys, and that freedom, because if the press is cowed, then the masses, the people will definitely cave in. So the press has always been the one speaking for those who can't speak for themselves. So we encourage our colleague journalists to continue to do their work, while we also impress it on the government to know that we are not working against one another. We are not working against each other. It's a collective. If Nigeria survives, like we all believe and hope that it will survive even these trying times, everybody is going to be better off for it.
Thank you so much. Now, in the last administration, we saw a situation whereby the Minister of Information, Lai Mohammed, actually was sponsoring bill to regulate the social media space. We don't know how far that has been.
Well, there were two bills. There were two bills. One sponsored by Senator Sani Musa. There's another one sponsored by Sabi Abdullahi, who is now Minister of State for Agriculture. Both bills have summarily been put to rest, at least in the National Assembly. And we do not anticipate any other lawmaker or any government trying to, because already we have, our laws have taken care of some of the things they try to hang on to bring such obnoxious bills. We have libel law. Every trained journalist already know their boundaries. In journalism we say, if in doubt, leave out. You understand? So that's, and we're also self-censoring in the profession. So we don't need any law to regulate the social media. What we do, the government should rather, put in more resources in encouraging the people to know what the do's and don'ts, what is libel, what is character assassination, what is the boundaries. You understand? So when you define some of these things, we'll have a knowledge-driven society. Also, people in government will also realize that they are in public office. Certain things are not secret.
Yes.
When someone is going to high office, they say you take an oath to uphold the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And by upholding that Constitution, there are certain duties and obligations expected of you. If you are upholding that Constitution, it means you are ready to protect the integrity of the country. And you don't do that by hiding basic information, public interest information that will better the society, that will go on to help the cohesion and unity of the country. So regulating either the social media or traditional media in whatever form, is something that nobody should even think about.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Now, more than over a decade that FOI was signed into law, not much. It has not really been able to, let's say, effective or implemented because of the fact that these government institutions are refusing to adhere to it or to comply by it.
One thing about the FOI is that the FOI is not an end in itself. It's a means to an end. And what the FOI tries to do is to give Nigerians, the public, the footing, in law they say local standing, to request for needed information. And government agencies, public institutions, they have their various departments of public relations and all that, and they tell you that which they want you to know. But it's left for the public to request for that which they also wish to know. For example, we've seen all manner of contract sums flying around. They say they awarded this contract for 25 billion, this one for 1 trillion and all that. Yes, they have given those basic information. But the public, it is now in the place for the public to ask, okay, 3 months ago, 2 years ago, you people said that you awarded this contract for this sum. Please, we would want to know as taxpayers how far you have gone, how much have been released to the contractor, how much work has been done, and where are we? What are the projections? So the FOI gives you that power to make those requests. So until people make the requests, the FOI will just be a dormant law there. It's like somebody giving you a
I
card.
remember this paper also making some request to CAC.
Yeah.
Somebody 2 months ago or 1 month ago, and up to now, it was not attended to.
Yes, sometimes from experience, because 3 years ago I made a similar request in one state, requesting accounts of certain agency of the government between this time and this time. I can't remember vividly, but there's a section of the FOI Act that says that if I request for an information in your office and you realize that your office is not the one given the powers to give such information, you should immediately write and direct me to the appropriate office that will give me the information. But you see, most times they just take it. Some don't even want to acknowledge that you have written. So usually, to make it more effective, you have to get your lawyers to write. If after a certain threshold of time there is no response, you can actually go to court and they will be compelled to do so. So I think that if you make such request to CAC, if for any bureaucratic bottleneck they are unable to, there is still another window to compel them to, and I think they will do so.
Thank you so much. Now, what, in your own view, can actually make the work of a journalist in Nigeria more accessible, given the fact that some of the cases we both of us pointed that journalists are becoming an endangered species in the country?
You see, shrinking the space for press freedom, it comes in different forms.
Yes.
It comes from ownership structure of media houses. It comes from inducements. It comes from relationship cultivation. Okay, there is something you may want to write on, and suddenly someone says, Moses, no go there. You understand?
Of course.
You now look at your personal relationship with that person. Also, you may want to, for example, do an investigative journalistic work about an agency, And you find out that the agency is one of the biggest patrons of your medium.
Exactly.
And your MD like, are you okay? Have we owed you salary in this organization since you came? You say no, sir, or no, man, and you want to block the source of your salary.
Yes.
So these are some of the dynamics that play into this way. However, a journalist must work according to if you work according to the ethics of journalism, chances are you can't be stopped. Because if you don't do it here, it can be done the other way. And what I've learned from other crimes is that to avoid such strangulating, relationships, people work collaboratively. Like leadership may decide to work with one or two other media outfits, and you find out that when you are about to go out, it becomes bigger than any of the individual partners in that, for example, investigation. So that, well, if leadership decide not to publish, then maybe the cable can, or maybe fact sheet can. So when some of these are also new ways of mitigating these things, because time is no longer that time that you think that exclusives are not really no more exclusive in the real sense of it. So really people have to collaborate, abide by the ethics of the profession by actually getting your facts. If you have your facts, people talk. You know that a lot of Nigerian journalists make the mistake of tipping off the people they are working on. When you tip them off, then you can't go any further. But when you have done your background job, you have your facts, and they may become defensive, yes, but they can't stop your work. It's like police investigation, which people always cite that the difference between Nigerian police and some police in other places is that Nigerian police believe that they can beat out the truth from suspects, whereas the other people will gather. It doesn't matter how long it will take them, but they will gather all the facts and evidences and just put it before the suspect. That, please, what do you have to say about it? That time, I mean, you can even charge to court, but here in Nigeria, it's the other way around. So sometimes some journalists also adopt that police practice of, Oga, we heard that your office bought this motorcycle for 20,000 and they are selling it outside for 2 naira. The persons, the moment you say so, they will find a way of justifying the 20,000. But if you heard that they bought it, they say they bought it for 20,000, you can, if the person that told you so can as well help you to get the payment details. And when you have the payment details and you say, these days, WhatsApp, okay, this is what we found, you are likely going to do a better job. So these are some of the things I think that if we do it, we can do better jobs, and our society will be better off for it.
Thank you so much. Now, as the fourth estate of the rim, would you say that Nigerian journalists have performed creditably in the discharge of that?
Definitely they have. They have, because we must give honor to whom it's due. Nigerian journalists for over 100 years have remained in the forefront of promoting cohesion, promoting national development, promoting basic existence of our country, Nigeria, and of course, taking the bullets too. A lot of Nigerian journalists have paid the supreme price on the line of duty, and unfortunately, is the most thankless job in this country, because despite all Nigerian journalists do, they are the least paid. They are not even given their due in terms of social respect and all that. However, because it's a patriotic job, Nigerian journalists they have excelled. Our history, up to our independence, journalism and journalists drove our
Yes.
independence, second independence from the military, and sustaining what we have today as democracy. Because really, we know that democracy grows, so it's not like an overnight thing. So eventually, democracy will still grow to the point where even this press freedom that we so much look for, we'll get it, we'll have it in a way that journalists will practice their profession in a satisfying and enabling environment.
All right, thank you so much. That is it on the World Press Freedom Day today. Now we're moving on to Leadership's main headline story. Of course, also a story that is also on the cover of some other newspapers. Police arrest mastermind of Kaduna train attack 2 years after. What do you have to say?
Well, it's good news.
Yes.
It's good news. But one thing about Nigeria is that the doubt is always there. Most Nigerians, when you say this person is arrested, most Nigerians don't actually believe that the real culprits are arrested.
Yes, arrested.
However, with this now, I believe that the next thing is to take it through the legal process. If that goes through, the police will bring evidence, and then it will be reassuring when the court would have been convinced that indeed that these are the masterminds of that heinous crime against the country, against our economy, against our citizens. So it's good news, and kudos to the police.
However, but Moses 2 years, because don't forget that during that time that they had kidnappers in their custody. There were negotiations ongoing between the kidnappers and the abducted. So does that mean that many people are wondering, okay, police just allowed the matter to stall until now?
Well, you see, that is why I said that when the Nigerian police or the Nigerian government, unfortunately, says we have done this, people take it with a pinch of salt.
Yes.
Because some people actually paid. There's someone in DSS detention now, the man who was negotiating the yes. Mamu has, from what the government has said, has information about some of this. Perhaps we don't know. Maybe that could have even led to this. But that is why I said, when the legal process commences, the police, by extension the Nigerian government, will bring the evidence to convince not just the court but Nigerians that indeed these are the masterminds. Because what it means, because this has significance in several dimensions. What it means now is that we may now have gotten the people behind these kidnappings, because the train attack was not just a senseless attack to this
well coordinated.
Yes, it was well coordinated, and it led to kidnapping of hundreds of persons.
Yes.
Ransoms were paid.
Huge
amount. And this set of people, they've been operating freely. Sometimes when you are traveling, they will tell you, you will see the signboard that Kaduna 100 and something kilometers from Abuja. You will now begin to wonder, are you saying that Nigerian military, Nigerian intelligence agencies, the police are unable to police 100 plus kilometer road to the point that everybody's actually abandoned the road, including top government officials with security? So there is more behind this story. So we're only looking. We'll thank them for coming out to say yes. We thank them for saying they have arrested the mastermind. The next thing is, well, you've arrested it. How did they get those arms? How come? There is so many questions to be answered. So I believe this is just the beginning.
But another thing too that also gets Nigerians skeptical is the fact that Nigerians, there's so much cover up. But why is the federal government now covering? Because it didn't start now. Why is there so much covering up of these terrorists and bandits?
Well, that's the question we have.
Don't also forget that in Zamfara we also read, was it last year or 2 years ago, that one of the wanted kingpins was even turbaned as an emir.
Yes, we all read that, and that is some of the issues that you know have kept our country down, because it seems that Aso Rock, when you go in, certain forces say you have come in, or this is how to behave. Because when you look at it, even countries at war, with all the shellings in between Israel and Hamas and the rest of them, the people killed in Nigeria in the last few years surpasses those.
Exactly.
There is no day, we work in the media, there is no day you tune the TV channels or you look at the newspapers or you look online and you will see kidnapped, killed, and we just carry on. Even as at today, no Nigerian can say that this is a basic plan to secure the country. There is none.
None at all. None whatsoever.
I covered the National Assembly. Every time the military, they will come, they say, service chief, they are going for executive section, journalists, security is sensitive, you are not supposed to cover. They come out, what they say, they want more funding, more funding. Nobody is asking, what are these funds? You understand? If you dig deeper, you find out that many families are suffering. Nigeria, the police, the army, they are begging young Nigerians to come, because a lot of families, 2-3 years, they don't know if their children, their husband, their brothers, their sisters that are in the military. They say somebody is posted in Borno or somebody is posted in the Niger Delta. 3 years, they haven't heard from them. So the cover-ups are not just to the public, even within the security agencies. There's so much cover-up because we keep losing men, we keep losing resources, yet the government seems to be so relaxed about it. Nobody is saying anything. They are not, all the military chief would say they need more funding. So it's really troubling, and I think that this government, if we must take them serious, must really come out clearly to tell us the Northeast, this is the plan. Because when you have a plan, you have thresholds of okay, and after 6 months we should have this, after 8 months we should have this, because even the government is tenured. So even this government knows that by May 29, 2027, they may have to hand over to another set of people. So it means that whatever plan they have cannot just go on ad infinitum. They have to tell us that this is what we are going to do in the security services, in the economy, in whatever, all the sectors. So that is how government is run all over the world. So it's baffling why ours is so different.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. And just before we leave today's program, we're looking at still on minimum wage, and leadership has it that Lagos GDP is 41 trillion naira, ranks 7th in Africa. And of course, the governor did say that he was going to increase the minimum wage to 70,000 naira, just like Edo State. So what are also states doing to also improve or boost their GDP? Because most of them always come to collect allocation without thinking outside the box on how to raise their IGR.
That is also one of the, when people talk about fiscal federalism and all that, as an individual, fiscal federalism has to do with creative thinking. Because those who are like fiscal federalism are those who feel they have certain resources that has low-hanging fruits or funds for them to maybe oil producing states, But we realize that already they are telling us that maybe in another 50 years the fossil fuels may be useless because cars will be, electric cars and solar and all that. But that's by the way. You find out that really in Nigeria, a lot of the leader, even the Lagos we are talking about, the Lagos state government as at today really has no plan. Why Lagos GDP is growing is because the country itself is not growing. You realize a country that is producing oil, we are importing.
Yes.
Everybody is opening up tank farms in Lagos. It's not supposed to be so. New York, that is the economic hub of America, it's several sectors of the economy are driving New York. The fashion and all that. So even in that Lagos today, I was in Lagos last week. Lagos is still a chaos. The people living in Lagos, most Lagosians don't live up to 60 years. The struggle is so much. The environment is not even fit for human habitation. Just yesterday we saw under the bridge where people were paying rent to live in shacks. So when they say Lagos GDP is growing, Lagos GDP is growing, it's all cosmetic because it's not reflecting on residents of Lagos. No good houses, no electricity, the roads are not there. People spend, most Lagosians spend their every year awake because you're either on the road going to work or coming from work. You don't even, so Nigeria, the Lagos state government and other states, they should begin to really think, creatively, something that can engage the young people that are, millions of young people everywhere in Nigeria. You go to Jigawa or Ebonyi or Enugu or Akwa Ibom or Cross River, you find, okay, I came from Kodi the other day. I'm even doing something. You go to a place like Ajaokuta. You see that Ajaokuta today would have been a town of around 200,000 persons, based on the meal and the employment it would have created and all that. But you find out that Kogi state government may not, at least we saw what Yaya Bello did for 8 years. That was never on the table. You understand? So every state must necessarily think of how to internally stimulate their economy. Instead of coming to Abuja every time, we have seen all the
to come and share allocation.
To come and share. And when they share, what do? They buy houses in Katangia and the Asokore extension. So it still doesn't trickle down to the states. After paying salary, because in 2024 we are still celebrating bridges, we are still celebrating culverts, we are still celebrating so-called flyover, which are just basic urban development issues. It's not trickling down to Nigerians, and we talk in trillions.
Wow, thank you so much, Moses. It's been a pleasure to have you on the program. And I look forward to having you more on the program.
Thank you.
Obviously, as well, come to an end of today's breakfast show on Leadership Television Inside Nigeria. I've had the pleasure of having with me Moses Mbika. My name is Winnie Boydube. Until I come your way again, same time, next week Monday. Yes, wishing you a beautiful weekend. Bye.
Thank you for watching. For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158.